Good morning, ma'am. Good morning to everyone on behalf of PSG institution, and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you who have gathered virtually through the Zoom platform. And I find immense pleasure to welcome our honored alumni chief guest speaker, Mrs. Devi Chitra ma'am. She is an amazing person as well as caring mother. She is a nurse in charge for taking care of family also, and in old age home and hospital. And one more thing, she is always ready to render a helping hand to needy people. So she's now she is working in New Zealand as a registered nurse and nurse in charge in Lexon Care Rest Home and Hospital, New Zealand. So she has completed her BSc Nursing in the year of 2006 to 10 in our PSG College of Nursing. And he has undergone the competency assessment program also in the year of 2018 in New Zealand itself. And he has achieved, she's the best outgoing students in our PSG College of Nursing. And yes, and also she's having she got first rank in community health nursing, as well as she received many honor and distinction in many nursing subjects. Thank you, ma'am. The session is yours back.
Thank you for the nice introduction, Miss Anita. Good day, everyone. I'm Chitra. I hope you are doing well and enjoying your studies. I would like to thank Dr. Jayasudha ma'am and Miss Rosaline ma'am for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Dr. Jayasudha ma'am, I appreciate this idea of an alumni guest lecture, which creates a special relation between those students who have passed and who is ongoing. Students, am I audible? Hi, can you all hear me? Miss Anita, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel very honored to be here today as a guest speaker. I'm currently working as a registered nurse in an aged care facility in New Zealand. Since I have been in New Zealand, my journey has been with elderly patients in dealing with dementia behaviors. Today, I'm going to speak about dementia and erratic behavior. Let's see. I'll just share my screen. Can you all see my screen? Miss Anita?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Just make it
all
a
right.
slideshow, ma'am.
Slideshow. I'll just make it. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yes,
is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Visible.
All right. Let's go. Why is this important and why you should all know about dementia? We all know that the population is aging and more older people now live with dementia. The proportion of the older people is also rapidly increasing in most global populations, and this becoming a major health issues around the world. We all know the phrase, knowledge is power. This is very important in dementia. If you know the knowledge about the dementia, so you have to teach the patient regarding the signs and symptoms and challenging behaviors, like how to manage them. So if people have an understanding of the illness, they will feel empowered to make their own decision regarding their care. And as the geriatric population continues to grow and an understanding of dementia and dementia care is becoming a chronic healthcare concern now. So we need effective management here. And also, due to the lack of knowledge to the nursing staff, the dementia patients may suffer from behavioral problems As an example, Beck et al. In 2016 indicated that nurses lacked nursing knowledge toward older people, influenced the attitude among nurses, and had negative attitudes towards older people. We are not caring much about the older patients. So this is very important. That's why I'm here to teach you all about dementia and its erratic behavior. Let's see what is dementia. Sorry, prevalence of dementia. In India, India has the second highest number of individuals suffering from dementia. At an estimated 4.1 million, the figure is expected to double by 2035. And in New Zealand, almost 70,000 Kiwis are living with dementia. Kiwis means in India, we say for Indians, right? In New Zealand, for New Zealanders, they say Kiwis. More than 170,000 Kiwis will be living with dementia by 2050. So almost like doubling the numbers. And according to the World Health Organization, around 50 million people have dementia, with nearly 60% living in low and middle income countries, and nearly 10 million people are getting added every year. So you have to know, it's very important to know. If I'm too fast, students or Anita, please stop me. And if you're not understanding it, and then you can stop me as well.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. What is dementia? Dementia is a disease that affects memory, thinking, and judgment. It's a group of syndrome that affects the memory, thinking, and judgment. Also, it's an acquired syndrome of decline in memory and other cognitive functions sufficient to affect daily life in an alert patient. It is a progressive disease and disabling as well. Also, dementia is it's not a normal aspect of aging. It's different from normal cognitive lapses. Let's see what is normal cognitive lapses and what is dementia. Normal cognitive lapses like forgetting a name, like most elderly residents, they will forget the name, and leaving a kettle on, but they forget to turn it off. That's all like a normal cognitive lapses. And finding the right word and forgetting a date or day. Even we also, when we get older, every olders they forget the date and day. But in dementia, it's totally different. Not recognizing family member and forgetting to serve meal just prepared, like they just prepared a meal, but they forgot to serve to the family members. And substituting inappropriate words, getting lost in own neighborhood. This is totally different from normal lapses to dementia. And trouble balancing checkbook, which means they have some trouble with accounts dealing, like deposit, also withdrawal. That's a common for elderly people. And losing keys and glasses, they will leave it somewhere, but when they look for it, they can find it. That's a normal cognitive lapses. And getting blues in sad situation. Blues means sad. So getting like a sad in a bad situations, and gradual changes with aging. But in dementia, they can't recognize the numbers. Even they don't know 1, 2, 3, 4. They will feel like a very hard to recognize the numbers. And putting iron in a freezer, it's like doing a opposite direction action. And rapid mood swings for no reason. Like sometimes they'll be very happy and suddenly they'll be sad. And next is sudden dramatic personality change. So this is all behavior is called dementia. Next, let's see risk factors of dementia. Dementia can get anyone. Dementia doesn't know like this or like famous person and known person and rich person like that. Anyone can get. It's not restricted to age, sex, gender, and ethnicity. Age is almost like a one, two-third of people above like a 80 year old people are getting dementia, and about 1 to 6 of people with dementia over group of 90. But younger people also can develop dementia that is called early onset or young onset dementia. And family history, certain genetic mutation put people at higher risk of dementia. Genetic factors, that is apolipoprotein, is most common gene associated with late onset of Alzheimer's disease. Next is history of head trauma, traumatic brain injury, for example, from falls or vehicle accidents or sports can have direct effects and increase future risk of possible developing dementia. And Down syndrome, many people with Down syndrome develop early onset of dementia. Mild cognitive impairment, like people who have difficulties with memory but without loss of daily functions or at high risk of dementia. Next, depression. When it emerges in late life, depression might indicate the development of dementia. Next, heavy alcohol and use of smoking. This is common for all the disease. Next is vascular disease. For example, if residents like have high blood pressure, diabetes mellitus, high cholesterol, they may risk of having dementia. Certain types of infections also, like fever or HIV infections, are high risk of getting dementia. Next, we'll see about the causes of dementia. Dementia is caused by damage to brain cells. This damage interferes with the ability of brain cells to communicate with each other. When the brain cells cannot communicate normally, so memory, thinking, and feelings can be affected. Also, many disease leads to dementia. It can be either treatable or non-treatable. It depends on the causes. Like some common treatable causes are depression, vitamin deficiency, head injury. These are all like a common treatable causes. And untreatable causes are Alzheimer's dementia, multi-infect dementia, AIDS complex dementia, like etc. Next, we see the types of dementia. Dementia, like umbrella terms for loss of memory and other thinking abilities severe enough to interfere with the daily life. Alzheimer's, like 60 to 80% of people have Alzheimer type of dementia. Alzheimer is the first common type, and Lewy body dementia is 5 to 10%. It means like a presence of abnormal clumps of protein called Lewy bodies in part of the brain involved in thinking, memory, and movement. It's like a 5 to 10% of people affecting with Lewy body dementia. Next, vascular dementia is the second most common type of dementia. It's like still 5 to 10% of people are getting this type of dementia. And the result of damage to the blood vessels in the brain, which can be caused by stroke. And next one is frontotemporal dementia. It's 5 to 10% of people still getting affected by this type of dementia. It's called like a degeneration of nerve cells in areas of the brain that are associated with personality, behavior, and change and language. And others is like a Parkinson's dementia, and contingent dementia. And mixed dementia means dementia from more than one cause, like a combination of Alzheimer's disease and Lewy body dementia and vascular dementia. This is called types of dementia. Let's, let's see signs and symptoms. Signs and symptoms mainly affect like a cognitive changes, knowing, thinking, learning, and understanding. Like memory loss will be there. That's the main signs and symptoms. And problems with language and communications. They they struggle with their language to communicate. Also, they struggle to understand the other's communication. And reduced ability to perform complex tasks and impaired reasoning or problem solving ability, struggling to plan and organize things, impaired judgment and impulse control, confusion and disorientation. Confusion, disorientation will be the main symptom. And when we see in the psychological changes, mainly it affects emotions and behavior, changes in personality or character, behavior that is inappropriate, mood changes including depression and anxiety, agitation, paranoia, and hallucination. Hallucination means when a person starts seeing people or things that are not there. Sometimes the person may claim to see people or even animals when there is no one in their room. For example, I can give you here. I have one resident in my facility. When I attended him for the medication, he was telling like there is a cat standing in the room. I want to chase the cat by throwing the water, and he did it in front of me. And that's a high risk of fall for the elderly patients. So you have to reassurance with those symptoms if you see. Next, let's see the diagnosis. Like cognitive and neuropsychological tests are involved, and neurological evaluations and brain scans like CT or MRI. These scans can check for evidence of stroke or bleeding or tumor or hydrocephalus. And PET scans like these can show patterns of brain activity and whether the amyloid protein and hallmark of Alzheimer's disease has been deposited in the brain, like that we can through PET scan we can see. And laboratory tests like simple blood test can detect physical problems. Mainly elderly patients have vitamin B12 deficiency. So through the blood test, we can find the vitamin B12, how much they have, and also an underreactive thyroid gland. Sometimes they will go for a spinal fluid examination for the infection, inflammation, and markers of some degenerative disease. And in psychiatric evaluation, mental health professional can determine whether depression or another mental health condition is contributing to their symptoms. Next, behaviors that challenge. Like 90% of people with dementia experience behavioral and psychological symptoms at some point in their journey. This can be very distressing to the patient and family and also other carers and challenging professionals as well. According to Cohen and Mansfield, suggests that challenging behavior in dementia often reflects an attempt by a person to signal that a need is currently not being met. Like when their needs are not met, then they'll get aggressive, agitation, and other behaviors as well. I will explain in detail in further slides. Alzheimer's and other dementia can cause people to act in a different and unpredictable ways. See, some individuals become anxious or aggressive due to the environmental status, and others repeat certain questions or gestures. Many misinterpret what they hear. So let's see what is challenging behavior. Sometimes people with dementia can develop distressing symptoms or challenging behavior that doesn't do with their memory or understanding. Sometimes it's related to others as well, from the staff or the environment side. And challenging symptoms include hallucinations, delusions, anxiety, and severe agitation. Also includes with aggression, agitation, wandering, hoarding, like hoarding the things, it's the most common, and sexual disinhibition, lack of interest in things, and disruptive vocal activity such as shouting or yelling out, calling out. This is all like a common challenging behaviors. And these symptoms are also sometimes we called as non-cognitive symptoms. Common challenging behaviors. These behaviors all I'm facing every day at my facility, like anger and aggression, anxiety or agitation, forgetfulness or confusion, repetitive actions, new suspicions, wandering and getting lost, trouble with sleep. I will explain in detail how to respond to those behaviors. So, causes of these challenging behaviors, like this is please breathe. It's like a mnemonics, easy to remember. So, P for pain. Pain also can trigger with a challenging behavior, like they'll get aggressive and anxiety. So you have to look for the causes for pain. And B for bored. Due to the lack of activity and lack of routines, the patients will get bored and their behavior will get changed. Or for restroom, they may look for the toilet. If they couldn't find, they just keep walking, like pacing and pacing front and forth. And E for exhausted, A for anxious, T for thirsty, and H for hungry. Here, thirsty and hungry, if the patients are feeling hungry and thirsty, they cannot they cannot verbally say to you. They just act through the communicate, like acting communication. They will show you through the aggression or agitation. You have to, as a nurse, you have to understand. Also, as a nurse, you have to be a detective, not a judge. So if you be a detective, then you can identify their problems. And E for environment. Like environment, usually like if it is overstimulating, too loud noise, if they hear, they'll get agitated. And like understimulating as well, like a dull lights, if they see, their mood will be like a low. And if they have like too many clutters in their rooms and also unsafe areas, if they see, they will be like a very anxious. So these are the causes of behavior. Next, what are antipsychotics and why are they used for challenging behavior in dementia? Like antipsychotics are drugs that were first developed to treat people with schizophrenia. They work by blocking the effects of chemical on the brain. For examples, we use antipsychotics, risperidone, quetiapine, olanzapine, and haloperidol. These are the drugs we use to calm them down. They are sometimes used to treat the distressing symptoms or challenging behavior in people with dementia. Antipsychotics can help reduce feelings of anxiety or aggression within a few hours, but it may take several days or weeks to reduce hallucination and delusional thoughts. Sometimes it may not work as well, antipsychotics. That's why in next slide I will explain why antipsychotic drugs not should not used. Like what is the problem with giving antipsychotics to people with dementia? Antipsychotics may not actually work for distressing symptoms, challenging behavior in people with dementia sometimes. And if antipsychotics are used in people with dementia, they may increase the chance that person has a stroke. Like we have high risk of other like sedation, drowsiness, and due to the drowsiness and sedation, residents may fall. So mostly we avoid for the antipsychotics. And antipsychotics can also cause other problems such as odd movements, problems with blood pressure, and dizziness and unsteadiness. Due to these problems, the patient will get fall and break their like hip fractures. And so mostly we avoid this one. Try to avoid unless if we need, then we give. And antipsychotics can cause very serious problem in people with certain type of dementia, especially like Lewy body dementia. Next, how to respond to those behaviors which I'm like commonly seeing at my facility. I'll just give you some examples like how to respond. Here, anger and aggression. Aggressive behavior may be verbal, like shouting, name calling, or physically they will hit you or push you. They won't let you to do any case. If you try to give a medication, if they are in a aggressive mood, they won't take it. They will try to hit you. I don't want it. I don't want to take it, like that. So it is important to try to figure out what's causing the anger and try to prevent it from happening when possible. So how to respond here? Rule out the pain as the causes of behavior. Like pain can trigger behavior for a person living with dementia. So you have to find out if it is if it is related to pain, then you have to treat the pain first so that the patient will get calm, and try to identify the immediate causes, like think about what happened right before and whether it may have triggered the behavior, and focus on feelings, not facts. Like look for the feelings behind the words or actions. They may try to communicate through the actions like what they wanted. So you always focus on the feelings. Next, try not to get upset. You always, as a nurse, be positive and reassuring the patient. Speak slowly in a soft tone. If you use like a loud noise and hard tone, they'll get agitated. Next, limit distractions. Examine the person's surroundings and adapt them to avoid other similar situations. And next is try a relaxing activity like use music, massage, or exercise to help soothe the person. We use at facility like music therapy, or encourage them to do other activities like paintings. We just use so that they will get relaxed from the. And next is shift the focus to the another activity. If a situation or activity causes an aggressive response, try to switch the activity to the other activity. Like you can ask them, do you want to go for a walk? I'll take you for a walk. So you can take them to for a walk so that they will be focused on to the other activity. And speak calmly, again using a calm tone, and try to reassure the patient. And anxiety or agitation. People living with dementia can become very anxious or agitated for many reasons. It can help to learn what triggered this response by considering the person's surroundings, time of day, and what has just occurred, and evaluating the potential source of pain, hunger, need for sleep, and sudden changes. How you will respond to this? Like again, you check for pain, and pain can trigger anxiety or agitation. Sources include being an uncomfortable situation or injury or reactions to medication or a urinary tract infection. Especially dementia patients, they don't know when to eat and when to drink fluids. They don't usually drink adequate fluids per day. So they will end up with urinary tract infection. As a nurse, you have to see the causes and then you have to push more fluids so that they will get rid of from the urinary tract infection. And listen to the frustration, like find out what may be causing the anxiety and try to understand that behavior and reassure the patient and provide reassurance again here, and involve the patient in activity, like engage the person in art, music or other activities or promote relaxations here, and modify the environment by decreasing the noise and distractions or relocate the person. Like if the person is calling out too much in a loud noise environment, and then you relocate the patient to their room where they can be quiet, and find outlets for energy. Like the person may be looking for something to do, some activities, then you can offer them to go for a walk. So, or family member, you can inform the family member to take them to a to the, sorry, take them to go for a car drive. That will helps to reduce anxiety or agitation. Next, forgetfulness and confusion. A person living with Alzheimer's disease may not recognize familiar people, places, or things. He or she may forget relationship, call family by members by call family members by other names, or become confused about where home is. And how to respond for this? Stay calm. Like not being recognized can be painful for the family members. So advise them to stay calm and respond with a brief explanation. Do not overwhelm with the person with complex response. Instead, you just clarify with a simple explanation so that they will understand, they won't be get confused. Show photos and other reminders, um, like use photographs and other thought-provoking items to remind the person of important relationship and places, and offer correction as a suggestion. Avoid explanation that sound like a scolding, shouting. Try response like I thought it was a folk, or I think he's your grandson Peter. So you try to give a suggestion. Don't argue with them. And next one is try not to take it personally. Alzheimer's like causes forgetfulness, but your support and understanding will continue to be appreciated. Repetitive actions, like a person living with Alzheimer's disease may do or say something over and over again, like repeating a word, question, or activity, which means to soothe themselves. They are doing that thing. The behaviors may be an attempt to communicate a need or physical discomfort. So, how to respond here? I have a resident with always like she claps her hand. That makes her to soothe herself. So, but it's very noise for other residents. They'll get agitated as well. So we use the hand pad. We will put the hand pad on her hand so that when she clap her hands, it will be less noise. Also, it will help her to soothe herself. And here, how to respond for the repetitive actions. Look for a reason why they are doing this repetitive actions. Try to find out if there is any specific causes for it, uh, or that causes triggering for this repetitive actions, and focus on the emotion. Rather than reacting to what the person is doing, respond to how he or she is feeling. Turn the action or behavior into an activity. Like if the person is rubbing a hand across the table, provide a cloth and ask the resident to help with the dusting so that they will do some work in order to doing the repetitive actions. And stay calm and be patient. Provide an answer. Like for example, give the persons the answer that he or she is looking for. Even if you have to repeat it several times, please do it. Like I have a resident who always asks what is the time. We just told her like it's 7 o'clock, but after 5 minutes again she will ask what is the time. So in that, like you can provide a big clock to her so she can see the time. And next, what is engage the person in an activity. Like the individual may simply bored and need a distractions, so that engage the person in an activity like taking walking again, and or working on a puzzle or bingo or bowling, which they are interested, so we can offer those activities. And use memory aids like offer reminders like notes, photographs, clocks or calendars. Like if they ask for the like what date today, you can provide the calendar. And if they ask why I'm staying here, and you can provide a book to let them know that you're here, we are looking after you. So every day we have to repeat it for their. Next, new suspicions like memory loss and confusion may cause a person with living with Alzheimer's to perceive things in new and unusual ways. Like I have a resident who always says that her underwear is missing and singlet is missing, and someone stolen it, like that. She kept saying it, and she accusing others for the theft. So in that, how we respond, like don't take offense, listen to what is troubling the person and try to be understand. Then offer reassurance, respond to the feeling and let the person know your care. Don't argue or try to convince. Like allow the individual to express his or her needs or ideas and acknowledge what was said. Offer a simple answer like share your thoughts but keep it simple. Lengthy explanation also can be confusing the residents. So you can say, for example, I said like my resident always say like her underwear is missing. So we give her like a simple answer that laundry people have taken your clothes for washing. It will be giving by the end of the day, and she will understand usually. And next one is switch the focus to another activity, like engage the individual in an activity. Like you can ask them, do you want to do some activities like painting, you want to go for a walking or gardening? If person can perform those activities, so you can offer them. And duplicate any lost items. Usually if the person often searches for a specific item, and you can keep the duplicate stock, and you can give that, like if the, for example, if the individual is always looking for a his or her purse or wallet, and you can provide the duplicate like a same kind of purse, you can provide them. So we can help in that way. Next, wandering and getting lost. Like it is common for a person living with dementia to wander and become lost, and it can happen at any stage of the disease. I have a resident during my evening shift. She is known to wanderer, but she escaped from the facility. And I had received a call from library, and they said they found her in the road and she's with them like that. And I went and then I brought her back to the facility and I informed the staff that she's like high risk of wandering. So we have to keep eye on her, monitor her like every half an hour to 1 hour to avoid wandering and getting lost. Here, for example, how to respond. Encourage activity. If the person living with Alzheimer's, you have to engage them with activities by reducing anxiety and restless. Involve the person in a chores like such as doing dishwashers and folding laundry or preparing dinner. Or if the person is interested to go out, you can take them for a walk with the accompanied person, or gardening, you can encourage them to do the gardening. Inform others. Also, like make sure friends, family, and neighbors know that the person is living with dementia and that wandering may occur. So they will also keep eye on the patients. Make the home safe, like install a deadbolt or slide bolt locks on exterior doors. Always it should be like a double lock doors, and limit access to potential dangerous areas within the home. So you always be careful with the items in the room. Otherwise, they will just hit and then fall can happen. Next, trouble with sleep. Like people living with dementia may experience changes in their sleep disturbance and sleep schedule or have problems with sleeping. So how you will respond? Make a comfortable environment, like maintain a comfortable temperature in their room and use night lights and take other steps to keep the person safe, such as like installing appropriate door and window locks. And next one is maintain schedule. As much as possible, like encourage a regular routine of waking up, meals, and going to bed. We have a schedule for our residents, like 7 o'clock they have to get up and have their breakfast. 10 o'clock is their morning tea, and 12 o'clock is their lunch time, and 2 o'clock is like their afternoon tea. 5 o'clock is their dinner time, and 8 o'clock will be their bedtime. We have like a schedule, so we are following that. And manage naps, like you have to limit the daytime naps so the person can sleep well through the night. And exercise, like try to include some type of exercise as appropriate for the person during the day. Physical activity may promote restfulness at night time, so you just offer the activities appropriate for the person. Avoid stimulants like reduce or avoid alcohol, caffeine, and nicotine, which can all affect ability to sleep. Discourage watching television during periods of wakefulness at night, as it can be stimulating. Next, nursing management of patients with dementia. This is our part, like aim of nursing care is to make the patient's life easier and pleasant. So first one is maintaining of optimal cognitive functions, in that reduce environmental confusions and increased environmental clues. Like I will just explain you in detail. I didn't add everything on the slide. Otherwise it will be too many slide. And in reduce environmental confusions, like approach the patient in a pleasant, calm way. When we giving the medication, so you have to face the resident in a smile manner and soft tone. Otherwise, they will say, I don't want to take medication. Why am I taking this? I don't want to take it. And then they will have it in their hand and throw it away. So you have to approach the patient in a pleasant and calm way. And also introduce yourself to the patient and greet him or her. Say, good morning. I'm Chitra. I'm RN on the duty today. So like that, we have to greet them. And keep the environment simple and pleasing. Remove all unwanted stuffs or items or utensils from their room, and maintain a regular daily living schedule, as I said earlier, and provide memory device like list of activities, reminding notes, labels on their items, pictures, diagrams will assist the patient to remember. For example, put a label with the word underwear on a drawer to help the elderly to locate their underwear. By these interventions, you can reduce environmental confusion and increased environmental clues like offer environmental cues for orientation to time, place, and person by displaying the past photos like favorite ornaments and other souvenirs to remind elder of their past. This can also triggers for discussing and sharing their memories to others. And also, for example, if festival decoration can help elders to orient it to time and place. For example, install a Christmas tree during the Christmas time and decorate with the heart shape so that they will know that Valentine's Day today. Like this, you have to orientate the residents, time, place, and person by increase the environmental clues. Next one is maintenance of physical safety. In that, we can achieve like in 4: control of environment, monitor medication regimen, monitor the temperature of food, permit maximum independence and freedom. So control of environment, same as like reduce environmental confusion. And monitor medication regimens, which means administer drug at appropriate time and dose, should not leave the medicine by the patient because they will just take the tablet, they'll put in their mouth, but they will hide it under the tongue. Once you go, then they will spit it out, and there's a chance of missing doses. So you always monitor their medications. You have to stand there until they take the medications. Next, monitor the temperature of food just to avoid from burning their mouth with warm food. So you have to monitor the temperature before they start eating, and permit maximum independence and freedom, which means allow freedom to move around in the safe environment will give a sense of autonomy and relaxation. And keep identification tag on patient will facilitate a safe return to the ward. We will give a card with them with the name of a manager and the details, everything. So if they lost, then with the card, they can safely return to the facility. Next, maintenance of an optimal level of psychological functions. In that, 3 things we can achieve: reduce anxiety provoking situations in daily life, enhance the quality of life, encourage positive feelings of self. Reduce anxiety provoking situation in daily life. In that, keep reality orientations, non-threatening but acceptable to the patient. Repeat the answer if the patient asks again and again. And be patient with forgetfulness. And simple structure stimuli are easiest to interpret. For example, call the patient by name just before lunch. Tell him the exact time and about the lunch so that they won't get confused. And be with the patient and listen to him what he or she actually wish to communicate with you so that you can identify what's the causes for the behavior. So here you have to be a detective, not a judge. Avoid situations that have upset patient in the past. So don't use that situation, or don't try to explain that situation to the patient. And Next one is enhance the quality of life, in that offer multiple opportunities like light musics, walkings, exercise, old hobbies, watching TV, if the person is able to do those activities. And next one is encourage positive feeling of self, in that treat the person as an individual with feelings, like acceptance is the great inner support here. And you should not underestimate the patient. For example, they might have served to the community as an army man. So never underestimate anyone. And openly discuss his feelings of anxiety and encourage him for further emotional ventilations. Whenever he needs, teach him relationship relaxation methods to reduce anxiety, like deep breathing exercise. You can teach them to reduce the anxiety here. Next one is attainment of an optimal exchange of ideas between the patients and others. Here, like sorry, implement strategies to promote the patient's interpretation of message, develop strategies to improve the patients to express message. In first one, like be calm, pleasant, and unhurried. Elderly residents, they never like to go for unhurried. Keep verbal message short and simple, and use non-verbal messages along with words. Like during meal times, you can mostly the residents will just watch the meal, they don't eat it. So by action, you can show them like eat, and then they will start eat. And simple message or easiest to interpret. Write down the simple instructions and list. Observe the patient's expression of signs that he understood, like nodding their head or smile. In this way, you can achieve this goal. And develop strategies to improve the patients to express message. In this, how we can say, this will allow to express his or her needs and feelings. So guess the message and confirm with the patient. So we have to, as a nurse, we have to be an active listener so that we can minimize the frustration here. And ignore the mistakes. Allow adequate time for conversations. No hurry with the elderly patients. Give them time to verbalize their frustration or emotions. And ask yes or no questions. Unhurried attitude will enhance communication. And acknowledge frustration in conversation that the patient is experiencing. It facilitates confidence. Next one is maintenance of a maximum independence in activities of living. In that, develop plan to facilitate daily performance of activities. Provide specific safeguards of safety in bathing. Provide specific measures to remember place. Like in developing plan to facilitate daily performance of activities, in that maintain a regular daily schedule at a time convening with the patient, and provide like adaptive devices like a long brush for their bathing, so that it will be very easy for them to take their bath every day. And next one is provide specific safeguards of safety in bathing, like monitor bath temperature, like bath water temperature. Otherwise, they will get burned from the hot water. And help the patient to take his bath completely and safely. If we leave the patient alone for bath, he may pour few mugs and then he will come out, or they will just pour few mugs on the floor and then they will act like they have taken the shower. So never leave the patient. And encourage use of safety measures in the bathroom, like handrails we are using here, and bath mats, like a rubber mats we are using here to prevent bathroom falls. And next one is provide specific measures to remember place, like provide accessibility to bathroom, indicate bathroom with colored pictures and the sign like mobility signs so that they will understand, and remind the patient about the toilet where it is in the north or south, and confused or disoriented patient may pass motion in an odd place. So thinking that is the toilet like that. So you have to remind the patient where is the toilet every time. And maintain toileting schedule every 2 hourly. Like we have 2 hourly toileting with all the residents. And next one is encourage adequate fluid and fiber rich food and activity of regular bowel movement, and restrict fluid in evening hours. This may interfere with sleep. Next one is maintain of optimal level of nutrition, like monitor food intake and observe food habits. Note that you have to note for the weight loss or weight gain, and provide regular mealtime schedule in this, and encourage adequate fluid intake to prevent UTI and to avoid dehydration. They are high risk of getting UTI due to the dehydrations. And promote regular mouth care, like encourage care of gums and teeth after meals, like they are high risk of gum bleeding. Assist and encourage the patient to maintain clean mouth to avoid oral thrush. And next one is maintain optimum personal hygiene, like promote healthy skin, promote healthy hair and scalp, and encourage nail hair. In promote healthy skin, keep the skin clean and dry, and lubricate the skin if it is dry, and assist the with back, buttock, and foot care to prevent bed sore. Provide clean and dry underclothings to avoid infections. And in promote healthy hair and scalp, like to prevent pediculosis, wash hair weekly twice, comb the hair daily, and apply oil if needed. We are not applying the oil here, so if needed, you can apply the oil. And encourage nail care, like maintain clean and short nails of both extremities to avoid scratch wounds and skin tears. Like when patient is agitated, there is a chance of hurting themselves, so you always keep their nails short. Next one is maintenance of a balance of a sleep and activity, like how we can maintain the balance of sleep here. Like reduce nighttime distractions such as noise, like nursing procedures or mid to night medications, you can reduce here. And take measurements to increase safety. For example, we do 2 hourly checks at night time and make sure all the exit doors are closed with a double lock. Otherwise, the wanderer could escape through the exit door. And provide adequate night lights and design a balanced schedule of activity or sleep. Increased daytime wakefulness and encourage short rest than long time rest. Encourage regular exercise like activity program to mobilize the joints. And we usually have a exercise regularly through we are monitoring the exercise of the patient through the exercise chart twice a day. Like those who can walk, we will assist them in walking. Next one is enhancement of socialization and fulfillment of intimacy needs. In that, we have to encourage visits from family and friends, and we can use tactile stimulation is easiest to interpret, like using touching techniques to maintain contact with patient, and accept the patient, like despite negative interactions. So you have to accept the patient here. And in regards to the provide rehabilitation, provide physio if the client has difficulty in walking, and provide hearing aid if the hearing is impaired. Impaired vision, provide if they have a impaired vision, then provide a big litter of books and reading glasses if necessary. That's all the nursing management. I think I'm a little bit fast, but no. And here, maintaining good brain health and reducing the risk of getting dementia. So how we can maintain a good brain health? I'll give you like a few tips how to maintain. Like look after your heart means things like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and diabetes and obesity all damage blood vessels. This increase the high risk of heart attack and strokes, as well as the chance of developing dementia later in life. So you always maintain your high cholesterol and blood pressure by physically active. Be physically active here. Leading an active lifestyle can help control your blood pressure and weight. Evidence also suggests that being physically active can help to reduce the risk of dementia. Next, follow a healthy diet. Our body and brain both rely on food for fuel, right? In order to keep them functioning properly, we need to consume a healthy and balanced diet. So eating lots of fatty and processed food is associated with a high risk of heart disease. These foods can be avoided. Next, challenge your brain. Like by challenging the brain with new activities, you can help build new brain cells and strengthen the connections between them. This may be helpful in slow with declining thinking abilities. Next, enjoy social activity. Like social engagement may also be beneficial for the brain health because it stimulates our brain reserves, helping to reduce our risk of dementia and depression. Try and make time for friends and family, or combine your activities with the physical and mental exercise through sport or other hobbies. So if you follow these steps, you can reduce getting we can reduce the risk of getting dementia. Also, you should know about these tips so that you can educate the families and your friends and and the patients, those who are suffering with dementia. And now conclusions, like dementia has a detrimental impact on a person's self-worth as it progressively deteriorates their ability to independently perform daily activities, affecting both mental and physical activity. And nurses offer a unique contributing to improved living standards for those living with dementia through client education and health promotions. So nurses as a patient advocates have a fundamental responsibility to promote public awareness of dementia as its prevalence is expanding rapidly on a global scale and poses significant implication for the healthcare system. As a nurse, we need to get awareness about the preventive measures of dementia and educative the individuals about its signs and symptoms with behavioral management. That's all. Thank you. Do you have any questions, students?
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. One student have asked question: how do we
Yep.
manage a person with dementia and who is very stubborn?
Sorry. Can you repeat it again, please?
How do we manage a person with dementia? And
Yeah.
one more question is, who is very stubborn?
Who is very stubborn?
Mm.
Who is a dementia patient?
How
You
do
have to,
we manage
sorry.
a dementia person? How do we manage a person with dementia?
how do we manage a person with dementia in what kind of like a caring, or they asking
Yeah, like caring only.
in regards to care?
Yes.
So that's why you have to always approach the patient in a like a soft tone, so that the patient will like adapt to the care what you gonna give. And other ways like the next question,
Next question is who is very stubborn?
who
They have
is very
chat
stubborn?
box, ma'am. If you see the chat box, they will ask written that.
Hmm,
Just see the chat box, ma'am.
let's hang on, I'll just looking for it. I couldn't see the thing.
In the
Zoom.
bottom, you have a chat, no? That is the.
That's why it's not displaying to me. Just only I can see the pictures here.
Oh, okay.
So I couldn't see the
That Nishmita is the student. They have she has asked the questions. How we will manage when the patient doesn't obey to us?
when the sorry, what's that?
How will we manage when the patient doesn't obey to us?
Obey to us.
Doesn't obey to us.
You have to identify the causes why they are not obeying to us. Maybe we may be rude to them.
Okay.
So yeah, so you have to identify the causes here, why they are not obeying. That's why here I always approach the patient in a smiley manner as like a family member, so that they will like whatever I'm saying, they will do it. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Do you have students? Do you have? If you have any query, kindly raise your hands.
Yeah, kindly raise your hand so that I can answer now.
Just we will wait for 1 minute, ma'am.
Yeah, no problem. Students, take your time and ask your questions so I'm ready to answer. I hope you all understand. Am I too fast before, or?
No, ma'am. Okay, it's okay. You have clearly said about dementia and its management. And one more questions, ma'am.
Yep.
Can you tell any of your experience?
Sorry, what's that?
Can you tell any of your experience? How you
In
can?
dealing with dementia patients?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I can say one resident who always get agitation and aggression. She always she wants to go for a shopping. Sometimes she will come and tell us that I want to go for a shopping, but we can't allow the residents to go for a shopping alone, right? So with the family members only we can send them to the shopping. So if we tell her like you wait for your family member, we can call them so that you can go for a shopping, and she will get agitated like, why should I have to wait for someone to take me? I can go. And then she will get agitated and like arguing here, right? So she will get agitated and she will use the walker to bang the nurse's station. Like, why I'm not going? I want to go. Like that. And in that situation, I have used like a distraction method. Hi, do you want to go for a walking? I can take you for a walk. So, and then she thinks, oh, let's go for a walk. Okay. And then I will take her for a walk. And after she had a walk, she'll be fine. So you have to use different distraction methods so that we can get from their emotions, like they want to go for a shopping, that idea is there, right? So we can get that idea from their mind by using the different distractions.
Okay, ma'am. One more question, ma'am.
Yeah.
Dementia will affect only elderly people or all other group?
Mostly it will be above 65, and sometimes it will develop after 45 also. Especially those who have like a vascular disease, like brain injury, like accident. So they will also get dementia. That is called early onset or young onset of dementia.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. That's it. That's it, ma'am.
I hope you all understand. So you will use this information to educate the patients. And one thing I want to say, few words like, I feel proud to be a part of PSG family. Hard work never fails, right? Same thing like hard work reflects our lifestyle and positive attitude reflects our destiny. That's why I'm here. Like I work hard at my student period. That's why my lifestyle is here. And positive attitude was increased by PSG. That's why my destiny is in New Zealand.
Yes, ma'am.
So best wishes to all students. If you have any doubts or I would suggest you to serve the community in India. But if anyone have plans to go for abroad, like New Zealand, you can always approach me for the suggestion, like how to come and what is the lifestyle here. I'm always here to help you all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So, do you have any queries, students? Okay, ma'am. So,
That's it. All right. Thank you so much. Have a
thank you,
good
ma'am.
day.
Okay. So, without God, nothing will happen. So, I should say thank you for God Almighty for completion of this successful event. And thank you so much for our principal, beloved principal, Dr. A. Jayasudha ma'am, for creating an opportunity for us, our alumni. Yes, ma'am, because the alumni are more feel honored be a resource person for the webinar posted by the alma mater. And thank you, Mrs. Baby Chitra ma'am, for your knowledge-filled session. Your session was very nice, understandable manner. You have clearly said about everything. Thank you so much, ma'am. And whenever I approaching you, you always speak kindly and friendly attitude that admired for me. And also thank you all faculty members for your encouragement and support. And not but not least, thank you dear students for your active participation. Thank you all. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll close it.
Yes, ma'am.